Russia's unprovoked attack on Ukraine saw US and its allies invoking a number of economic sanctions and penalties. Some of the biggest Russian banks have been barred from the SWIFT system, a system which some 300 Russian financial institutions depend upon. Let's bring in ADRIAN BRINK of ANOMA to discuss how this could impact the world of disintermediation. Great to have you with us, ADRIAN.
Good to be back.
ADRIAN, you have been quite vocal in your views of SWIFT being an antiquated system. However, Russia's exclusion from the global financial system hit the ruble hard as the Russian currency plunged 30% against US dollars to record lows. So it clearly seems to be having an impact here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, SWIFT is still the predominant system for global money transfer. What I mean by antiquated is it is a system that is ancient at this point, and comes with all the characteristics that you sort of imagine that antiquated systems have. But of course, at the moment, it is still a very important tool to move money around.
Well, subsequently, the announcement of US sanctions led to a sharp jump in Bitcoin prices. We've also seen crypto donations pouring into Ukraine, and this really is the first conflict in the age of digital currencies. And the prominence of crypto underlines the importance of disintermediation, would you say?
I think so to some extent, actually, because this is, for the very first time, we're very much turning the financial system into a weapon of choice for nation states. And this is actually without me taking a specific view on this conflict at this point, but it's more that we're now weaponizing the financial system, which even resulted in things like Ukrainians losing access to their banking infrastructure because the US enforced sanctions against the eastern part of Ukraine, which then resulted in American services just suspending services for all Ukrainians, right? I think global conflict highlights the need for sovereign financial systems much more than before, because even if you link it back to something that happened in Canada, right, with the protesters' bank accounts being blocked, it seems that governments are very willing nowadays to start going after the financial infrastructure first to deal with things that they don't like. And of course, if you are on the end dishing it out, this is great, but if you end up on the end receiving it, this is very bad for you. And I think we shouldn't assume that we're always on the end dishing it out and not receiving it. So I think everyone should be preparing for a future where they may get rightfully or unrightfully targeted and have to figure out what a sovereign financial system looks like to them. And I think also as a result, you've seen quite a bit of interest in Bitcoin and generally like decentralized currencies for pretty much the same reason.
And this conflict is bringing the tussle between centralized and decentralized systems to the fore. The fact that centralized systems, the systems that are based on fiat, are trying to control digital currencies. We saw Ukraine ask crypto exchanges to bar Russian users from their platforms. We also have seen Elizabeth Warren tweeting about cryptocurrencies, possibly undermining the power of sanctions. So there are a couple of questions, that I have here. One, is it possible for exchanges to actually bar someone from their crypto holdings? And secondly, and more importantly, is the question of financial sovereignty. Does the act of trying to sanction cryptocurrencies undermine that financial sovereignty?
So absolutely, it's possible for exchanges to ban individuals. They've done this in the past. They can always do this. If you hold your assets with an exchange, you have the same risk model as if you hold your assets with a bank. That institution can fail, that institution can revoke your access. They can do arbitrary things. I think it's probably a very bad precedent if we start banning every citizen's access to financial systems as soon as countries start doing bad things. Because it seems like a blanket ban on the civilian population that is in no way justified. So I'm personally very much against blanket banning people's access, also on the exchange side, because I think it creates a lot of collateral damage that doesn't really have any useful outcome. Like, it doesn't do anything to improve the situation except make like 140 million people's lives way harder. And on the notion of sanctions, I think Elizabeth Warren specifically, she is in favor, or she is tweeting about the fact that crypto may be used to undermine sanctions in order to gain brownie points on Twitter and gain votes in the next election. Realistically, this is not a concern that I think anyone that actually understands how cryptocurrencies or how the financial systems work has, because the volumes that the Russian government would need to move are just tremendously large, and there's still better options than cryptocurrencies in the existing financial system.
Well, this crisis has certainly brought cryptocurrencies to the center stage as those caught in the crossfire look to protect and access their money. Agent BRINK, thanks so much for your insights.